Oh, here we are on another one of my Sunday walks, and I'm on a bit of a historical theme this week, and I just want you to imagine that you're sitting on a boat, one of William's, about 700 years ago, more than that now. September 1066, let's go right back as far as that, because where I am now would have been sea, and this is what, imagine water across there, looking towards this building. And this is where you would have been going, to the right hand side of Pevensey Castle. And apart from the keep, virtually everything you see there is what you would have seen then. This is now Pevensey Bay, and I'm standing below sea level. And the only thing keeping me from drowning is the high shingle bank that has been added to after it started silting up, and the big shingle bank that keeps the sea way behind me. Now I wanted to bring you here because this is basically all that's left of what in the time of William the Conqueror was Pevensey Haven. Now Pevensey, although today it's spelt with an EY, is not, as its name might suggest, for an old Saxon island. Its original title was Pevensey, or something like that, P-E-F-E-N-E-S-E-A, meaning river of a man called Peven. It's still quite wide and still quite deep. Don't know if there's any wildlife up there to see. Let's have a look, shall we? Very busy out this morning again. I think I've spotted a swift or two over there. It's rather nice. There's a cyclist out this time of the morning. There's a sluice gate hidden underneath this new bridge here, which is why you see the river flowing. It controls the drainage from what is now the marshes. If I just pan the camera around a bit, although it's all hidden by trees now, this vast expense over there was once Pevensey Haven, which stretched right the way across from here over to Wartling. And in actual fact, I now subscribe to a very, very convincing theory that the main part of William's forces did land at Pevensey, in that it landed at the Bay of Pevensey, but they landed at the original Hastings port, which is now Lower Wilting Farm. What came here initially was a small expeditionary force as they went past in September, and he then sent a slightly larger force back from Hastings the following day. There wasn't anybody waiting here for them. The Saxons had gone, either fled or gone to join Harold fighting the Danes up north, and so William was able to establish a small force here at Pevensey, from whence he went right the way round the landward side of Pevensey Haven, up through Howsham, along through Hurstman Zoo, laying waste and ransacking the villages on the way round to meet up with his main force at what was then known as Crhurst, and what we know as Crowhurst, which is where I now believe the proper Battle of Hastings took place. And if you want to find out more about that, I would refer you to a book called Secrets of the Norman Invasion by Nick Austin, and to the Secrets of the Norman Invasion videos on YouTube. But anyway, this is what's left of the once mighty port of Pevensey, which really came to prominence after the Norman invasion and through the Middle Ages. There's also, as you can imagine, a centre for smuggling that the vicious Hawkhurst gang had. Well, they reigned over all of this area until somebody had the bright idea that the way you stop the smuggling is to take away the tax on the goods that were being smuggled. And as soon as they did that, it was the end of the smuggling and the end of the Hawkhurst gang. Now, I'm not going to go in there because I don't want to disturb people's peace and quiet this time of Sunday morning, but as we walk by here, you can see these houses. I dare say they're not now, but they were all council houses that originally stood right behind this flint and brick wall. But the local council worked out that it would be too expensive to bring them up to modern standards, so they literally built all those new houses in the back gardens, and once they were complete, moved them all in and demolished the ones in front. Not bad, eh? And this is a very, very busy Pevensey village at 20 to 7 in the morning or thereabouts. Right, onwards. Well, I'm starting my walk proper today, right alongside the walls at Pevensey Castle. And as you can see, they've been here quite a long time. Something like, actually prior to Roman times, but the main walls that you see here, the bases of which have been here since the Roman invasion. And you can see the bits where restoration has occurred. Although this particular part looks like one of the separate sections. Apparently it was built by 4 separate gangs, and in odd places around you can see the vertical join where the walls lined up with each other. Later additions, of course, by the Romans and then the Saxons. You'll see the flint and brick at the top. This was the Roman fort of Anderida, or Anderida, you might want to call it. But I'm going to bring you down here, although we can hear the noise of the cars on the new Pevensey bypass. I just wanted to show you just how flat that land is across there. And remember, we are on, well, Pevensey was on a very small peninsula, and in actual fact, even in the days of the Norman invasion, I could walk from here actually to where my house stands in Langley, because it was just a strip of land that went up to Stone Cross and then down. But you see how flat this all is, and that was all part of Pevensey Bay at one time, right inland as far as Howsham. So you can get an idea of it. There. So now I can start my walk proper. Good morning, sheep, and a treat for little Oscar. Some lambs. Hello. There we are. All very quiet, all very friendly. Look at that, eh? Room at the milk bar, Mother? Hmm? Yes, yes, yes. It's alright, not doing any harm. I'm bringing you along this way because we're actually going to what was originally, if you like, a suburb of the old port of Pevensey. West Ham. And literally meaning hamlet to the west of Pevensey. Which leads us to the first church built by the Normans, St Mary's, West Ham, although the tower is a later addition. Now, you'll see that the village has its own village sign there. With a heron on it. There used to be an extremely large heronry here behind the church and the school. I don't really want to go too far in this direction, but I do want to try and get in here. I wonder what the sheep would think if they knew they were in a butcher's field. But there you go. People out walking their dogs. I can hear geese, but can't see them. Anyhow, here we are in West Ham. I just wanted to bring the camera up to pan into some of the oldest buildings in the area. You'll see that one there, and further down the street there, some lovely older buildings. And modern cars. There, look at that, Elizabethan. And here, of course, we slowly pan round, is St Mary's Church. And its tower. Right, get walking again. Let's see. The graveyard there. I've said this every Sunday, haven't I? I can't believe how busy it is before 7 o'clock in the morning. We're now heading up to the western end of the castle. Most Norman castles are built on the Motte and Bailey principle. You would have all the fortifications, the walls and ramparts of whatever material built around the edge of what I suppose in those days was a large courtyard area called the Motte, where I guess the cooks and all the hangers-on that would go with an army would have their tents. And oh, look at that lovely wisteria. Isn't that nice? What isn't so nice is this rubbish on the road, which has obviously been left by people who should know better. It's either a very large dog or somebody's changed a baby and left it there, and there's 2 litter bins. I do find it that's okay. I can come in here. This is obviously at one time the western gate but you'll see there's no moat here on this side, but when you swing round there was a moat here, because this is part of where the sea would have come in, and about 3 sides of the castle. What have we got here? Oh, let me just give you a couple of seconds to have a read of that. So as you can see, we're actually entering the outer bailey, and you can see the ditch that's now on my right hand side leading to the moat, where the sea would have lapped up to. Although we're walking along a bit of a ridge now, over there you can see quite clearly one part of it that was damaged during a couple of attempted invasions of the castle in years after the Norman invasion. I suppose there was feasting here at one time. Now I don't know. Not sure, but you might be able to get an idea. I can see it, but I don't know whether the camera can. If you look over the top of the castle walls, you can see in the distance the land over to the north of Howsham, Pevensey, and William, well not William, but the men who took this particular fortification would have had to walk all the way around to the left and out and across the top of there. So when you think about it, would you really land 700 ships here and then march all of those men and everybody miles all around there, when you could have done what I now believe he did and take your main expeditionary force, knowing that there wouldn't be anybody there because they were off fighting the Danes, over to the main port of Hastings, slap bang in the middle of Harold Godwinson's manor at Crest, and take it. I think logic is defied. Now you come to really seriously look at it and say, would he really start his invasion from here? I don't think so. Bearing in mind they landed in September 1066, the battle didn't take place until the middle of October. William wouldn't want battle-weary troops. He would want battle-ready troops. And he wouldn't have got those if we'd have marched all the way around there. That's for sure. Right. Here we are at the inner keep. What they're calling the inner bailey. course this would have had an extra protective moat around it, as you'll see when I go over the bridge. And looking back, you'll see way over there where I was earlier, down at Pevensey Bay, along with one of the Martello towers constructed in 1805. Maybe I'll get a chance to take a walk later on in the series and tell you about the Martello towers. But basically here's all that remains of the old moat around the inner bailey, and looking over there, a clearer view towards the hills in the distance with the early morning mist. Look at that. And when we go across the bridge, although we can't go into the castle, English Heritage want to charge you a small fortune for going in there, but that is the remains of the inner bailey. There we go. Right, onwards and upwards, as they say. Yes, and looking back over there, we can see the tower of West Ham Church, and beyond it there is the Downs, the other side of Eastbourne. Probably some 8 miles distant now over there. Anyway, let's continue our walk. Still got to get some rain, but it's actually quite pleasant here. I'm now going to shock you all. And tell you that from what I've now learnt, I no longer believe that the Battle Abbey that we know today is actually the abbey that was built on the site where Harold supposedly fell. I believe that abbey to be what now remains, found alongside a virtually 2,000-year-old yew tree and a wall that is documented in the chronicles of the time, and I think in the Bayeux tapestry as well, but I'm not sure on that, in Croest. The dimensions of which have been verified as being the exact dimensions of the abbey that William ordered to be built. And, I won't go into it now, but the abbey, as it stands at the moment, yes, it was built by the monks, yes, it was built soon after the Norman invasion, but it all became part of a, believe it or not, a contract by the monks, so they didn't have to pay taxes. If you want to know more, read Nick Austin's research material. But anyway, here we go. Out through the gate and into the village of Pevensey, which actually was granted borough status in the 12th, 13th century and became a limb of the Cinque Port of Hastings. It was actually a borough until 1868. There are cars around here. There's the old mint house over there, supposedly sold recently, but still nothing done with it. I hope somebody does soon, because that chimney looks, down beside it you can see it definitely is looking a little bit worse for wear with that lean on it. Parts of that date back to 1342. And although most of these houses over there probably date from the very late 1800s, early 1900s, we still have some more rather older buildings here. Such as the one opposite. Old courthouse, the jail. And I'll give you a couple of moments to read that. I got the 68 the wrong way around. 1886 the corporation was dissolved. But there you go. Up the steps, this was the jailhouse and the courthouse. There we are. And further down the road, you can see that Elizabethan building. There it is. I think I'd probably get a bit of it here. And the church chiming the quarter. So I'm guessing about 7:15 in that case. And time to head back. strong countryside smells here. Cow pasture for one, cow cats being another. Sunday newspapers on their way. Another of the older buildings under new ownership. No longer advertising over 30 gyms. Probably the most expensive afternoon tea in the area. Once upon a time you would have seen rabbits sitting out on that bank, but it's been many years since that happened. I think they had to mainly get rid of rabbits. You can see, I think, looking over there, how they used to burrow underneath the foundations, and it eventually caused some major problems. And the 1066 country walk takes you out across the marshes, because the main road to London at the time, before the Great Storm in the 13th century that altered the coastline for good, the main road to London from here, if we can call it that, you have to follow where that van's going through into West Ham. And then it went up through Rickney and off up through Howsham and up to London that way. And another road went across the ridge, across Erskine Zoo towards Hastings and all in there back hill. Oh, so many cyclists. The trouble is, how far do you have to cycle before your exercise becomes unnecessary? Unfortunately, it rather looks as though this area of the wall, I don't know whether they'll ever rebuild it. It's some time since I was through here, but that's obviously had to be sacrificed. Because I obviously haven't took any notice, but I never realised that pillbox never used to be so exposed. You see that in there? During the Second World War, they built some extra fortifications here. Spike Milligan was billeted in Turkey Road in Bexhill in the Second World War. I don't think he was ever sent out here. You can imagine him coming and standing here many years later and looking at that and thinking, there's a pillbox. And he'd turn and look this way and say, oh, but Germany is in the opposite direction. How did we win the war? Well, here we are. A suitable point, I think, to end the walk with another zoom there over what would have been sea back in the days of the Norman invasion. And by the sound of it, there's a farmer calling his cattle in to be milked or fed. So there you are. We'll end our little 1066 walk here. Hope you've enjoyed it. And now I'm going back home for a breakfast of mixed high fibre cereal, coffee, and I think a nice slice of granary toast with lashings of butter. So that's it for this week. Goodbye.